And we give thanks to God for the ways that they've touched us, taught us, helped us, and healed us, so that we, through looking at their example and their way of living, are called to live a life committed to following Jesus Christ. So today we give thanks to God for those many saints whom we have known and loved who have died. Now, in my former parish, St. Paul's, Edenton, shortly after I arrived, we established a tradition. And that tradition was that on each and every All Saints Sunday, we would raise up, out of the long historic past of that church, a saint of God for us to talk about on All Saints Sunday and to hold up as a model for mission and for ministry. And today, even though I'm not at St. Paul's, I've got an example that I want to share with you of someone who is truly a saint of God. Now let's first begin by getting clear what a saint is not. Saints are not perfect people. The only perfect person that ever walked the face of the earth was Jesus. And we killed Him for being that way. But instead today I want to tell you the story about a woman who was a saint of God whose name was Peggy Miller. Now when I first came to St. Paul's, Peggy was very active. She was a rather tall, blonde-headed, blue-eyed woman. She was very much involved in the life and work and ministry of the church. After I arrived, I heard a little bit about their story. Peggy and her husband Lee had dated when they were in college. They got married, and God eventually blessed them with 5 wonderful children. And by the time I met her, her children were off and grown and having children of their own. But when I got to St. Paul's, I hadn't been there but maybe 2 or 3 days, I had several people tell me, you've got to meet Peggy Miller. This woman is truly amazing. She makes people feel good about the Christian faith. And she makes people feel valued. And she makes them feel loved. And before long, Father Tom, she'll make you feel that way. So I checked off in my brain, that was one person that I was going to need to see. So not long thereafter, I had the opportunity to see her at a social engagement. My wife Cindy and I were gathered with a lot of people from our church and some people from the community. And I saw this woman off at a distance, and I noticed how people were just drawn to her. And people might come up and they looked like they were tired or depressed or dreary or weren't feeling good. And after they stood in her presence and talked with her for just a short period of time, they left smiling. And you could tell they were energized and they were excited and they were encouraged. And I made a mental note. This must be this Peggy Miller that everybody is telling me about. And after I'd been there for a little while, I heard a little bit about her story. Because about 10 years earlier, she had been diagnosed with a particularly virulent form of cancer. And she'd undergone chemotherapy, she'd undergone radiation, she'd undergone all of that which is so very difficult to live through and to deal with. And yet, here was this woman who was just vibrant and alive and bubbling. So I went and I talked to her and I talked to her husband. And anytime we needed something at St. Paul's, we would make an announcement during the announcement time at both services. Can I get a show of hands of somebody who will help us with whatever it was? And Peggy's hand almost always went up. She was always willing and eager to volunteer and to make a difference. Well, over the course and event of the time that I was there, Peggy's cancer returned. And it got where it was difficult for her to walk, and she was not able to come to church for a period of time. And so I would take her communion at home. And she would tell me, Father Tom, I'm really sorry that I can't make it, but I'm really just not up to it right now. My toes and my fingers are kind of numb due to the chemotherapy, and because of the chemotherapy I've got some shortness of breath. But what are some things that I can do from my house? And so I'd give her a list of people, not just the parish prayer list, but had a long personal list of people in the parish that I was praying for. And I gave her some of those names, knowing that she would keep those names in confidence. And I knew that she prayed. And I knew that she prayed multiple times each and every day for them and for me. I'm going to stop that part of the story about Peggy here, because I guarantee you that every one of us here in this church today knows someone who has died, who has gone on to the great and eternal life, who has made a real difference in our life, in our ministry, and in our relationships. It might have been your mother. I could have easily said my mother. Could have been your father. Might have been your grandfather or your grandmother. It might have been a son or a daughter. It might have been a best friend or someone that you work with at work. It might have been a neighbor. It might have been somebody right here at St. Matthew's who you knew, who you loved, who died and gone on before us. All Saints Sunday is a time in which we give thanks. We give thanks to God for these people and the way that they have touched us, the way that they have helped us, and the way that they've shown us how we ought to live out our Christian lives as radical followers of Jesus Christ. So today, on this All Saints Sunday, we give thanks to God for people like Peggy Miller, people that you have known and loved who have died and gone on before us. And as we are reminded in our liturgy, when it comes to that place just prior to receiving communion, with all the company of heaven, they are joined with us this day, this All Saints Day, in the context of this Holy Eucharist, because at the end of time, and at the end of all days, because of our faith in following Jesus, and because our love for God and one another, we too will all be gathered together for that great Eucharistic feast, that Messianic banquet. So today we give thanks to God for all of His saints, and may God help us, you and me, to be one too. Amen.